I'm gonna say something that I never thought I'd say, and that especially before that Chelsea game, I never thought I'd say. Eric Dyer has to start. I, 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 I don't know where that's come from,
Are you
and
sure about? Are you sure about that?
I'm sure, and I'm fully accepting whatever's going to come through in those comments about me after saying that. I've seen a few suggestions that if we go with Emerson and Phillips, or Phillips and Højbjerg, or Emerson and Højbjerg, I know those all are viable options tactically, but I don't think we can say that either of those are, or any of those are good options, because we need an experienced centre back there. If you're going to have someone that's going to be that's going to be clipped way out of context, I love it. We need to have someone back there. If we're going to play an Emerson who's not used to that position, or Phillips who has not played at this level before, we need someone beside them who can guide them and make sure that they know what to do. And Eric Dyer, as much as he has his shortcomings, and I'm going to leave it at that, he is someone who has been seen in the past in that dressing room as a leader. And he did a fantastic job when he came on against Chelsea. Almost scored one of our goals of the season with that volley that would have got us the point. But I just wouldn't feel safe with two new players in there, either out of position or just completely inexperienced. Personally, I would put Emerson Royale in beside him, because they did it together on Monday. Why not give them another go? And like I said, Wolves missing that main force up front in Pedro Neto, so there's not going to be as much kind of running in behind them. But I think that for me is a safe approach. I wouldn't be surprised if Ange doesn't go with the safe approach. And I think that's what you're saying in terms of, do I have any, thank you, George, do I have any gauge of what Ange is going to do? I really don't, because he could come out with anything. And like you said, he said he'll not be afraid to play Ashley Phillips in that team. He could very well go with that approach to the game. And Phillips has absolute buckets of pace, so he could maybe be someone who fits into that Van de Ven replacement role as a good backup option. But for me, and again, I apologise, trigger warning, I do think Eric Dyer has to start.
Like Matt said, I wouldn't be surprised if Ange plays an absolute wild card and does start the youth. But I think I would be quite comfortable with Dyer starting as centre-back, only to have someone who has played Premier League football against teams like this before. He might not be the fastest centre-back that we have available, but just in terms of like experience and holding down the fort a little bit, with that many of our starting 11 not there, I feel like you do need to have someone who's got a reliable head on their shoulders, like commandeering the rest of the pitch. And yeah, maybe Emerson starting alongside him. I think depending on how Davies is doing, I think if he says he's fit, he can also do a shift as a centre-back against Wolves. And then we've got Villa, I think, afterwards. So,
Yep.
Yeah, I'd be happy with like a Davies-Dyer partnership. If not, then like a Davies-Emerson. Maybe Ashley Phillips as well. But I think just to calm my nerves a little bit, I would want a defined, experienced centre-back there. Yeah.
I can see, Mitch, you hesitant to answer this. What do you think for you on this?
No, I'm just trying to process Davina saying I'd feel comfortable with a Davies-Dyer centre-back pairing.
Can I just say, this is where we've come to on game week 12 of the Premier League. What the hell has happened to us? What has happened to Tottenham?
Yeah, look, I mean, I struggle, Ricky, because, I mean, Eric Dyer was giving me a heart attack when Eric Dyer was getting up and sprinting towards the halfway line to try and play people offside, and then turning back to try and run back and make those last-ditch tackles on Monday. Watching him do that against Chelsea was nearly giving me a heart attack. So I'm a little bit more reluctant. I watched Eric Dyer fail to play with two centre-backs next to him under Antonio Conte in a defensive system. So there's just something about playing a high line and the progressive attacking football that I'm not sure about. I really struggle to sit there and think, oh, God, I want Eric Dyer, or I think Eric Dyer is the right option to start on Saturday. Again, however, when you look at the alternatives, I'm not really sure there's another choice. I personally, I think, to be honest with you, if I had to pick a pair in for Saturday, I would have to pick... I would throw Ashley Phillips in there, and I think, as much as it pains me to admit it, the other one would have to be Eric Dyer, just because I'm just thinking the idea of Højbjerg dropping into centre back although perhaps it worked to an extent against Chelsea, it's not necessarily the idea of going away to Wolves and watching Højbjerg be that staple centre-back in a back four in a high line against a quick attack and against a physical team is a little bit, for me. So there's issues with whoever you pick at the end of the day. There's issues if you pick Ashley Phillips because he's not got the experience in the Premier League. There's issues with Eric Dyer and Ben Davies because they don't have the pace, the recovery pace that the likes of Romero and Van de Ven have. But I think we just have to approach Saturday's game with the mentality that, right, sod the defence, we're just going to score more goals than you, and go with that sort of mentality, because however you look at it, we're going to be very weak in defence until Romero comes back 3 games out, and until Van de Ven comes back, whenever that may be.
Yeah. I mean, are we all the suggesting here, guys? I mean, Matt, I got to ask you this. I mean, are we expecting this high line again? Do you think we are going to play that high line? I mean, Davina's saying nodding there. I mean, she's selected Ben Davies and Eric Dyer as the centre-backs for Wolves. I mean, it sounds nuts. I mean, really? Do you really believe this?
I'm expecting a higher line. They were too deep on Monday, Ricky. It wasn't good enough.
I mean, Wolves are without Neto, but we've got to take them a little bit seriously. Listen, they turned Man City over at home. They're not a bad side. And Gary O'Neill, I thought, was tremendous when he came onto Sky recently. He's a man that will be licking his lips potentially at the thought of having a Ben Davies, Eric Dyer partnership there.
Yeah, I just want to point out as well, because you kind of alluded to it there, Mitch, but watching the game on Monday, there was something I noticed about Eric Dyer's kind of body shape when Chelsea were in possession. When you're defending, you want to open that body up so like you're kind of facing side on, so you're ready to go either way. Eric Dyer was fully facing back towards his own goal and just watching the game over his shoulder. He just didn't have the confidence in himself to turn and make those runs. He was playing the game facing Vicario and trying to watch things over his shoulder. It was absolutely fantastic. But yeah, no, we're going to play that same way. We're going to play that high line, whether it's Dyer and Højbjerg, whether it's Phillips and Darrington, or whether Ange puts himself in centre half. Whatever it is, we're going to play that high line, and I think it's what the four of us would want to see. It's what everyone, or the majority of people watching, would want to see. And I know there was that criticism of the way he played against Monday, but ultimately, he's there to make sure that Tottenham fans are enjoying the football that they're watching. He's not there to make sure that Chelsea fans are happy with his approach. He's not there to make Arsenal fans aware that he knows what he's doing tactically. He's there to make Tottenham fans happy at what they're seeing on a football pitch when they go there on a Saturday. And the reaction of the Tottenham fans on Monday, the majority of them, if not all of them, were happy with what they saw. So I don't see why he would change that, regardless of what that centre-back partnership is.